Hello, my name is Micah, and tonight we're going to be talking about professional networking. Now you might be asking yourself, what is professional networking? That's when you reach out to someone, say that you meet, and you form a business relationship with them, different than just a personal relationship, but all the same parameters. Now you might ask yourself, why is networking important? Well, it's knowing the right people that get you into places you didn't know you even could get into. So say you know a guy, and that person knows a guy. They would recommend you over just some random person they met on the street if you have the same skill sets. So that means you got the job over someone who didn't network. Another situation could be that, say you go to a social mixer and you meet the boss of the company and you don't know it's the boss of the company. Well, then when you go in for your interview and you meet face to face again, you got a much better chance of getting the job. There are plenty of areas that networking can help you, and there's plenty of ways that you can get networking help. The big thing is that you just gotta practice. You gotta practice networking. It's not something that comes naturally to everyone, and it's something that comes very naturally to other people. But even if it does come naturally to you, you need to make sure you're doing it right. There are guidebooks you can get on networking, but I personally think those are a little bit more easily dated. With technology constantly on the rise and the business world always moving and churning, a book is a little stationary. But it is good to learn the basics of networking. After a book, you can participate in networking groups. Now, I consider there to be three basic networking groups. First of which is social mixers or networking events that a company can hold. So that's those kind of places where you meet someone, you rub elbows, and you get names to faces. You kind of get to pitch yourself a little bit in those situations. Another one are professional association networks. That's where, say, you join a club that you may not be part of the business, but then you can get a little bit closer to the people who are. Another one is social media and online networks. Those are really important, and they're probably going to be what we talk about the most and what I refer to the most in this little thing we're doing here. LinkedIn is one good example of that. That's a great professional networking social media. You can use ones like Facebook or Instagram depending on the position that you want and the career you're seeking. It's important to keep those strictly business though, because it's very easy for other social medias to turn into non-business platforms. And you have to keep that business separate. The other thing is that you have to be visible, so it's important to spread out a little bit on what networks and how you network. Because if people don't know who you are, you can't start building important relationships. So, for instance, if you're only on one social media, then someone who uses a different social media will have no idea who you are. You have to really branch out and make sure you're seen by everyone. You have to build solid relationships. It's not just about meeting that person and hitting it off right off the bat there. You have to go deeper than that. You have to earn trust from someone. That's key to networking. You got to invest in them in return. So along with visibility, you have to make sure that you have credibility to gain profitability. And these all may just sound like words because they are. The important thing is that you're building a relationship in this and you're not just trying to figure out who they are. Another thing you got to do is have a large network. You don't want to just have a small presence in these diverse areas. You want to make sure that the diversity pans out. You want to make sure that you don't just have a profile set up on LinkedIn or on Facebook. You want to make sure that you maintain these profiles and make sure that you maintain these relationships. That means maybe posting every day or posting once a week. That maybe means emailing a certain person on a regular basis or having lunch with someone on a regular basis. You want to make sure you maintain those relationships any way you can. Because of course a network is useless unless you're constantly reaching out. Nobody wants to be the person that always has to make the first move and always has to keep something going. You don't want it to be one-sided. It's got to be a two-way street here. You also want to make sure that you're not the only one taking in this situation. Just because they might have a lot more to give doesn't mean you shouldn't be giving in return. If you, say, bring cookies to the office, that's a good way to reach out and show them that you're giving back and you're not just that person who only shows up for that other guy who brings cookies. You got to make sure that you're giving, giving, giving. It's like Christmas. It's all about the spirit of giving. Next, you want to make sure that you are doing this naturally. Now, again, like I said, networking doesn't always come naturally to everyone, but you want to make sure you get to that level through practice where it's natural, because if it's not natural and it feels forced, people don't like doing things in an awkward, forced manner. It's much easier for someone to do you a favor if it's natural. And people really just hate to say no in the first place. So if you're kind of at a weird, not natural level, then they feel like they have to say no, and you kind of get the uncomfortable vibe I'm giving off right now. You don't want that. You want it to be comfortable, natural, and have a yes answer. And don't be afraid if you lost touch with that person in the first place. Say it's been a month and it's been busy and you're just not really talking to that person anymore. Like, don't be afraid to reach out and rekindle that relationship. Even if it just means calling them out of the blue, or if you run into them at the supermarket or in the office, to strike up a conversation. Send them an email, give them a call, do whatever you got to do, and don't be shy. If you're the shy type, make sure that you come up with, say, potential conversation starters. Some way that if you happen to run into them, that you don't just shut down and, well, I'll do it another time. Like, know that you have to, and then do it. But while we're on the topic of things that you should do, we should also talk about things that you shouldn't do. You should never ask for these favors or networking opportunities before you build the relationship. If you meet someone at a mixer, you're rubbing elbows, and the first thing you say is, we should start a business, or hey, how about you promote me, or how about you guys hire me instead of that other guy. You're rushing it. You got to slow down, build that relationship first, because otherwise you're just that person who came in and started asking for things. You're not their friend who's looking for an opportunity. You're not that business friend that they know can do the job better than someone else. You're just that pushy guy that started in on something. And that's just not what networking is about. So the things that networking is about is building real deep relationships with professional contacts. It's about cultivating both the depth and width of your network, making sure that you are spreading yourself out and that you're really digging deep in wherever you're at. And most importantly, I'd say that networking is not about who you know, it's about how well you know them. Now, this has been a very rough draft for me, so don't judge it too harshly. My Prezi is included in this video, but it's also a little on the rough side. One of those weeks, where nothing goes right and you don't have any time. So I may re-upload this and do a slightly different rough draft if networking isn't exactly the same way that I go, or if I decide to change my Prezi and build this along with it. But at the very least, I will be re-recording this for the teacher if she's watching this. But for anybody who wants to write about mine, just know that it's a rough draft, and I think it turned out all right. Look forward to watching everyone else's. Thanks.